Oh, that's weird. Let me fix this. There we go. Okay, cool. That was weird. So, yeah, everyone, welcome to our designing interfaces for mobile with Figma STEMpump camp. I'm Ritesh, and yeah, let's just jump straight into it. So what is STEMpump? STEMpump is an education organization dedicated to creating a global platform for contribution, collaboration, and expression. We aim to transform traditional education by offering a modernized teaching environment that gives students a medium to learn and contribute to our mission of free education for all. We teach free camps like this one and make awesome courses to provide the world with free education, all while giving students a platform to create and share. That was a mouthful, but now we can kind of move on to the fun stuff. So what are we be doing in this camp? So we'll be, designing interfaces for mobile with Figma. We're going to start off by, learning the basics of Figma, which is an amazing web-based design tool. Then we'll jump straight into learning about UI UX, along with the Apple Human Interface guidelines, as well as Android material design guidelines. And you'll learn about the fundamental aspects of mobile UI and UX, and have a full-fledged prototype by the end of the camp. The goal is to get this done within the hour, and if we can, that's great. So by the end of the camp, you'll be able to use basic Figma, a few of the basics around the Apple HIG, as well as the new material design guidelines for Material UI3, as well as being able to design with the fundamentals of mobile UI and UX in mind, and we'll be able to prototype using interactions in Figma at the end, and so you'll have not an app, but a little demo that you'll be able to show off. So any files or links you really need today will be available at stempump.org/live. And we're only going to really need one link, but you'll also be able to find the final project there. And you'll be able to learn a little bit more about today's camp if you want to. And like always, you can join our Discord community. stempump.org/r/discord, and ask questions and chat and do whatever. So fun. Okay, so section 1. Let's get started with Figma. So a little bit of a gist, right? What is Figma? Figma is a digital design and prototyping tool. It's a UI and UX design application that you can use to create websites, apps, or even smaller user interface components that can be integrated into other projects. Once again, really big mouthful, but you'll understand as we keep going. Here are a few organizations that use Figma. So Slack, which is a messaging app for teams and organizations, Twitter, Dropbox, Square, and the New York Times. I know Microsoft is always also using it now. Google's using it now. So a lot more companies are moving to it due to its ability to allow people to collaborate and work anywhere on whatever device, and just being such an amazing tool. So let's kick it off by going to figma.com and making a free account. You can really just gotta click on the sign up button at the top, and you can make one either using your Google account or any other account, I guess, and get the free plan. If you are a student, you can actually apply for their education plan, which is really big and get a lot more features and a lot more things to do and collaborate with teams. So that's really good. At STEMpump, we use Figma almost on a daily basis, whether it's to design social media marketing or test out design ideas for the website and app. And it's an amazing tool that really allows in collaboration and fast designing. We'll kind of talk about a few of the practices we do at STEMpump as we design today's mobile thing. So that shouldn't take too long. And so we'll just jump straight into learning how to use Figma. So section 2, Figma basics. My slides are gone. There we go. Okay, cool. So when you make a Figma account, whatever, and it'll ask you a few questions, and you'll be able to see a page that's pretty similar to mine, except I have a few more files and all that. And we're going to set new design file for now. It'll be untitled. I'll just call it, you can click on the top to rename it. I'll just call it STEMpump Camps Figma Basics. Okay, cool. So this is kind of your canvas, I would call it. On the side you have all your layers and pages, so you can like divide your work out. You can make a new page here, page there, but I don't really need another page. You also have assets that you can pull from other things. You have this fun little bar at the top. You have a share button, play button. You can zoom in, zoom out with a few other things here. You can change the background. You can click on this and just change the background whatever you want. I'm going to leave it at E5. And then we'll kind of talk about, and there's prototyping and inspecting, because what's really cool is you can actually convert this to code if you ever want to develop whatever you design, which is really helpful. All right, so the main tool that you really have are these top buttons. You can click the Figma button, and it's just a lot of things, and it's kind of like a normal desktop app that you would have with files and editing and all that stuff. So we don't really need this, but we will be focusing on these 7 buttons. So first we have the move tool, and essentially this allows us to move things around. So it's kind of the default tool, so you can like select items with it and do that. But if you click on it again, you can also do scaling. We don't really have anything here, but then you could be able to scale items, and I'll kind of show that. And so moving is really cool because you can move items around and components and elements, and it really allows you to do stuff, I guess. Next, we have the frame tool. So frames are kind of this parent container, I guess, of sorts. So you can actually click on the frame tool, and then you can just drag out a box, and this is kind of where we can edit within. And it allows for cool grouping. So let's just leave that there. And you can kind of see on the side we got a lot of different options that I'm probably. We have the frame, and we have the X and Y coordinate. So if I made it 0, 0, it'll put it at the 0, 0 point. And you can just you can like change this. So you can do 100, 100, and it'll move it based on that. Next we have the width and height. So how many pixels? I'm just going to set this to 500 by 500. I think it's a good value, and it just gives me a little box. Right here is angle. So we can actually give it an angle. So say I want it to be at 45 degrees. Now it's at 45 degrees. And you can also just drag back and forth. And you can see that as I change the angle, the X and Y changes as well. And then right here is corner radius. So it allows us to curve corners. So I can set like 100, and you can see how it goes. You can use your arrow keys as well to go up and down, and then if you press shift, hold shift while going up and down, you can go bigger increments. But we'll just set it to 8. I guess for now, give it a little bit of that. Clip content, we'll kind of go over that in a little bit. This is independent corners, so say you want to have one corner be 100, the other ones be all 8, you can do that. You can just select it again. So there's that. So this is like, I guess, looking more at frame stuff. We have auto layout and layout grid, which we will look at in a little bit. And then we also, have what is it? We have layers, so you can kind of set the opacity of the layer. So opacity is like how transparent something is. And so we'll look at just changing colors now, but as we talk about layers and other elements and components, you'll see how it really works. So you can set it to 10, and you can see it's very, very, like, we can't even really see it, so I can set it to 50, and you can see it's a lot lighter now. I'll set it to 100, and there's a lot of different other types. We won't really talk about this today because it's not really necessary for us, but if you're doing a lot more art things, this might be helpful. Then you have fill, and so you can add a color. So you can click on this right here. You can click on hex, and you have a lot of different color standards. If you know what those are, we're not going to go over them, but you know what hex codes and RGB, all that. And there's also this color picker that kind of works, so you can pull from other things. But yeah, like you can pull the background, but you can't like pull like anything outside of this main canvas. Or you can just choose colors. So I'll just go with like a blue, I guess. So you can like drag this. You can choose a blue. There we go. And what's really cool, and what's really cool about Figma is you can actually stack fills. So I can click plus right here, and then you can see that I can add a red on top of it. Or that's black, I guess. I can add a red, and then I can actually change the independent opacity of this red, and you can kind of see it will, until I go to 0, it turns more blue because the blue is now being seen more because the red's at 0 transparency. I'll just like there. It's like a periwinkle. There's also stroke, And you can use stroke. This is the thickness of the stroke right here. So you can make like 100 thickness. Kind of weird. You can go over 5 for now. You can change the color like before. I'll make it white, and I'll set a 20% opacity. And you can kind of see it's taking on the color, which is why opacity is really cool. You can zoom in and zoom out by either using this tool at the top. I just hold Command and I scroll wheel because I think it's easier. And if you want to, and so that's kind of where we're at. That little hand thing is the move tool, is this hand tool. It allows you to do that. Or you can just middle click your mouse if you have that and go around. It allows you to move around, but I'll talk about this in a little bit. And you can also choose if you go on the outside. So if it's outside, you can't really see it. You can also do center where it's half in, half out, and then just completely inside. I'll make that 10. And like this, you can also stack different color fills on the stroke itself. And yeah, there's effects, so you can do shadows, and you can customize what those look like. An inner shadow, can't really see it. If I, there it is. You can see it there, right? An inner shadow. You can also add a layer blur, which just blurs the entire thing, or a background blur, which we won't really use today, but it also is meant for at least like blurring the background. If something's behind it, it'll blur. And then you have export tools. So you can add export, and you can kind of export this thing at different sizes. What's really cool about Figma is that it's using vector design, and vector design essentially is scalable. So 1 pixel, like a pixel, right, at 1 by 1 looks the same as a pixel at 100 by 100, depending on how you zoom out, which means things never really get pixelated. And here you can export it as a PNG, JPEG, SVG, or PDF. And you can actually scale it up to whatever size. So you can export 4 times. And you can see it's massive. It's 2000 by 2000, even though we did 500 right here. And like I said, this is really cool if you want to export graphics or design at varying sizes. So you can just stack those and see 2 times, 3 times, all that. But I don't really need to export that frame. Okay, so that's kind of the move tool. And then we can actually scale this now, and that's also the frame tool, by doing this. You can now scale it. See how it's 120, but it changes all the values, so no matter what size, it looks the same, which is really helpful when you want to make big things and then scale them down to be smaller, like graphics. There's also this slice tool. We're not going to really talk about it. I'm not really even totally, it's just, you don't really need to know it for today. So that's that. We have the shape tool, and it's on default on rectangle, and so we can actually take this shape tool, click on it, and drag a rectangle inside. And now on the side you can see that there's now this rectangle inside of it, and you can see that you can move it inside, and you can actually take it out. We'll leave it inside. You can see that it's being clipped. I can't see all of it. If you click on the frame, you'll remember this clip content button, and if you click that, and you can clip it or not. For now, we'll just leave it clipped. But all the same properties really apply to this, except for the layout options. But yeah, you can like rotate it. You can change the color. You can give it, actually I'll make it like 20. You can give it some radius. Something that's really cool is you can actually hit these dots and actually add corner smoothing, so it's a different type. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you how that kind of works. You can see it closer. You can kind of see it becomes a lot more of a smoother corner, and there's like the iOS standard right here. We'll be using that later today. But yeah, you can do that. You got a stroke. Let's add a white stroke. Add an effect. You added a shadow, so you have this. And actually, it also can now show opacity now, right? So you can see by changing the layer opacity, the entire rectangle itself fades out. But you can also just change the individual opacities. So you can change the fill opacity, and you can see if I change fill opacity, that white still outline stays the same. Or if I change the stroke opacity, you can see how that really changes. I like changing stroke opacity a lot because it kind of gives this more natural feel, right? Right there. I like this a lot. It's a really cool design thing. So that's kind of what we can do there. And we can actually add more shapes. You can actually click on this little arrow and you have lines. So you can do a line right there. And it's essentially just a stroke. We can do that. We can actually change what we want it to look. arrow, and you can actually, as you change it, I'm just going to drag. You can see how that looks. We'll make that green. You can also, you know, make an ellipse or a circle, and this is interesting. You can actually do arcing right here like this. You can all make a pie right there. I'll make that yellow. It's like Pac-Man now. You can set that so 90 or whatever, but we'll do that. Pac-Man. Effects, and I can show you how actually the background blur works. So when you do this, you can set the individual color, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Like the red behind it is blurred out. You can kind of see it. It's blurred out. So that's kind of how background blur works. It's always at 100. So that's like a circle. You can't really do anything with the radius. I mean, you can do that with the radius, but it's not really necessary when you're just dealing with the whole circle. You can also click O to get a circle. Just make a little Pac-Man palette. We can also, you know, add a polygon. So we can add any. This is the radius. We can corner radius right there, and you can do that for any shape really. Corner radius. Just by pulling this corner, and that's an individual corner for that. Even here, you can't really do anything with a line for corner radius because it's technically just considered a stroke. But here we can actually set the number of sides. I can like have a hexagon, like right here, and I can kind of do something cool with that. I can actually K, which is our scale tool. You can kind of see it change up here. Scale it down, and I can just, you know, make a cool shape like that. That's misaligned totally, but it's fine. I'll make it cool. Right, you have like a design here. So we got that. You can do polygons. You can do whatever. You can do a star. It's pretty cool. I'll make it like purple. Oh, it's pink star. And so it's kind of like, you know, a modern day Microsoft Paint for anyone that's, you know, willing to fight you over that statement. But yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of cool things, and we're only halfway done with all these tools. You can also drag in images. So I actually have an image of this post we did today. I just dragged this in, and you can see I can like resize it and stuff in here. Pixel images, however, will get pixelated because they aren't vectors unless you import SVGs. So we do this. You can, and all the same rules apply. You can round it. You can K or scale it. Do that. Actually, go into here. You can actually change how it the like a little mini photo editor. You can rotate it. You can also crop it. So say I want to have, you know, a little bit more height. I can crop this image there. You can also tile it as much as you really want to. I don't really recommend it. And you can do fit, which means that the image will always stay at the same size, but it's bounded by its minimum height or width. So here, you know, it's bounded by that. Here, it's bounded by that. But I'll just undo that there. I'll leave it like that. And you also just place image. I just like dragging things in. You can close this at the bottom. And like I said, you can actually export any one of these individual elements just by adding that. You can see it's transparent. That's why there's like a white thing there. Or I can just export this whole thing, and it's still transparent with the corner radiuses right there. You can't really see it, but it is. Okay, and let's jump into our next tool. So we got the pen tool. The pen tool is really cool because you can make cool shapes, custom shapes. So you can hit pen, and then you can just create shapes. And hit escape, and now we have our own, you know, triangle. You can fill it in because it's like that. I'm just gonna scale it. There we go. But I can also do something really cool. So you can click on here, you can do that, and then you can actually hold your mouse, and you can actually curve it, and now you have this shape, which I think is really cool as well. And I mean, I can like, you can add curve to it, so you can make it into like a little blob. That looks weird, but no, I'll allow it. This looks like nightmare fuel right now. There we go. You can also do like a style that's like that. So a little blob. And then we also have this pencil tool. Not really necessary. You can like, it just draws like individual vectors. Yeah, don't really use it. It's a lot more, you know, free form, I guess. But yeah, I don't like it. Next tool is the text tool, which is really cool. You can click text and just click, and I can write this is text. And then you have all these new text options on the side. What's really cool is that you can actually use your own fonts. We won't talk about that today, but it's really cool to use your own fonts. But there's also, you know, hundreds of fonts already in it, so it's not like you're out of options. I will be using a font called DM Sans. I really like it. I'll make it bold. You can just put that right there. And you can, you know, you can actually change, you know, under spacing. That's kind of cool, I guess. You can change the height of it, or leave it at auto. You can change, what is this? Paragraph spacing. We don't have paragraphs, not necessary. And you can also change, you know, how it's interpreted, whether it's a auto height, fixed sized, or auto width. You can align it to different sizes. So if I expand this, I can center it, also vertically center it. So you can actually click on this button, type details, and change a lot more. So you can actually see, oh, you can underline it or strike it. You can add indent. I don't really have that. You can add lists types. You can actually set it to all uppercase, all lowercase, capitalization. You also set, you know, different types of styling and all this depending on what it is. You can kind of see how that works. But yeah, text, it's cool. You can actually look at this layer thing, and you can actually see how that works. So we'll set this to 75. It's already fading, and you can kind of see you can, whatever you do, kind of does a different result. So that one like blends in it. That's an overlay. That's soft light, hard light. Difference. It's kind of wacky. Exclusion, hue, saturation, color, luminosity. So a few, you know, things, but like I said, that's a whole other thing to be talking about. I don't like that. That could be cooler. Let's do something orange. Okay, cool. Now we can kind of move on to the next tool, which is the hand tool. And it just allows you to, you know, grab and move around. You can also just, I'll change this to move. You can also just use the middle click, or, yeah. Or if you have a touchpad, you can use 2-finger and move around like that. Like a Mac I have, you can do that. But yeah, middle finger, that. And then there's this cool commenting tool. You can just like comment, so like, that looks bad. And you can kind of click on it, and it's like, oh, that's what I said. Or, well, an emoji. You also see all the comments on the side, and as you like zoom in and out, they kind of just merge. And it's like, oh, there's comments here. Oh, blob. That looks bad. Okay. But yeah, that's essentially all you really need to know. Here you got a lot of other things, you know, to make new files, you can import things, copy, paste, a few other things, bold, whatever. You can get plugins and all that. We're not going to use any. But yeah, a lot of cool things. Even a desktop app. But yeah, yay, you know Figma. If you're able to do all this, you are pretty much good to go when it comes to Figma. So yeah, let's kind of let's like change course and jump into a lot more conceptual ideas about design and theories and stuff and all that. So yeah, comment tool, we already jumped into Figma, and so kind of going into section 3, basics of mobile UI and UX. So the question I guess we start off with is, what do we use design for? And design's all around us, right? Whatever you're watching this on, chair sitting on, the book you haven't read for class, your phone, your headphones, your trash can, your doors, your handles, all of it involves design of some type. And that's all physical design, product design and mechanical engineering and all these other cool things. But we're focusing on, digital design. And it's pretty much essentially the same thing but parallel towards, the digital world. So like, the apps on your phone, the games, these are all, using design. Yeah, like that's it. Your apps and games, those ads that you see, TV interfaces, all these things are all just digitally designed. And so as we enter this new decade, it's 2022 now. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long. But we're going to have a new emphasis on design, but not only to create, but to support society in new ways. Design can be used to explain, tell a story, plan, problem solve, or just to make something look nice. And the best time is when it can combine all these things. So let's break it down, I guess, you heard the words UI and UX. So let's start off with UI design. So UI design stands for user interface design, which is, I guess, how we use design to make the whole interface usable, aesthetically pleasing, and well-rounded. So the combinations of colors, shadows, radius, typography, animations, blah, 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 all contribute to this UI idea and making the user interface nice to use. That's weird slash. And then UX, on the other hand, user experience design, is how we use design to help people accomplish their tasks. Good experiences help people and give them control, but it's also about making technology more interactive and accessible, opening it for more people. And so when we talk about UI and UX, a lot of places, do UI/UX, but I believe they're both independent and they work together really well, and neither should be, put below. They both benefit from the other really well. UI is all about form, and UI is all about functionality. And it's not just about making stuff look pretty, which is a consequence of good functionality and offering an awesome experience. Design is how it works. Something can be beautiful, all while being functional. And so this is a photo I found online. It's pretty common, but I like this one. From Emerson Young. He wrote an article about UI and UX. And so, this bottle on the left is clearly designed, with the idea of making the ketchup look fancy and cool and more appealing to buyers. However, if you've ever used one of these bottles, you know what a pain it is to get ketchup out after, it's gone. You have to turn upside down and start hitting the bottom of it, or I guess now at the top, until it comes out. And that's a terrible experience. It's not easy. And you have zero control, right, over how much ketchup comes out. The nozzle, essentially, the nozzle, the opening, the bottle opening is what I guess jurisdicts that. Whereas in UX, right, we're seeing, squeeze bottle, which means you can control how much you're getting rid of. It also makes it easier over time, and you actually have more ketchup over time because less is being wasted. And so we already talked about the idea of UI and UX, and so there's very well a compromise here where you combine both of these ideas and come up with a final solution that's both aesthetically pleasing and super awesome for functionality. So let's talk about, mobile, right? Mobile UI and UX is a very interesting thing, right? Because, we've only had mobile devices for, I think, at least on the idea of a smartphone, touch interfacing, really, in the mass consumer markets, for around 14 years now, 15? And it's still relatively new, I'd say, argue relative. But, there's a lot of things that have been done since then on how do we design for mobile? How do we make it easier to design for mobile? and all these things, and how do we make it more accessible and all that. And so Apple wrote a awesome guideline system called the HIG, which kind of helps app developers and people understand how should we design apps for their devices. And so what is the HIG? It's a collection of UI resources for designing apps for Apple platforms. Today we'll be looking at the iOS HIG and learning a few of the basics. I didn't add a link for it there, but you can just search Apple Human Interface Guidelines and kind of read a lot of the same thing we'll be talking about today. It's long. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff here, all the way to like, file providers, and custom keyboards and messaging. Like some of this stuff's old. Like this from like what, iOS, like who knows when, versus, all of this, which is much more updated, dark mode and adaptivity and layout. You'll see the new iPads and new phones, I guess now. Not really new, I guess, but same newer designs. But this is like an older thing right here. Augmented reality. There's so much here that you could talk about. Like everything regarding the UX and UI design for iOS is here. And this is really good UI and copy and like loading UX, and this is old. There's a lot of stuff here, but even though it's old, it's really helpful to understand. This is really new. A lot about like, app transparency. But yeah, I'll add that link in a little bit after camp. So if you want to look at it, you can go check it out. And today we'll just be looking at a few things on the iOS HIG and learning a bit of the basics. So there's like 3 primary themes that kind of differentiate iOS from other platforms. They call them design themes. So clarity, deference, and depth. So with clarity, we have, accessible text, clear icons, and simple design. Everything kind of works together to convey interactivity. So, not a lot of color, very simple. Color, is for, to show that, this can be touched and all that. Deference, fluid motion and a beautiful interface help people understand and interact with content without competing with it. So, giving them control, making things feel fast and smooth, and allowing the interface to work as fast as you can think, so there's never a disconnect. And then depth, so distinct layers and realistic motion to show hierarchy and relate to understanding, right? In our real world, it's not a 2D world, right? It's 3D. We have shadows and depth and perspective, and all these things in digital UI help us relate to, oh, there's something behind this, or this thing is raised because I can touch and interact with it. So touch and discoverability, heightened delight, and accessibility without losing context. And this is something I guess kind of designed last night to kind of show a few of the different things right here. Like red color is for deleting, right? The blue is an action. The green is a toggle. You can tap on it, still up a shadow. This is an on and off toggle right here, I guess. Not toggle, I'm sure what the term is, but like that. We have a navbar at the bottom. A few labels. So this is just a few of the things. We have a navbar with a large title. We have, time and all these things. These are icons everyone's kind of familiar with nowadays. But yeah. And so you can kind of go on to iOS design principles. So, there's, I think 6, right? 6, yeah. So there's aesthetic integrity. So how, well an app's appearance and behavior integrate with function. You could have a very nice app that looks cool and all, but if it doesn't integrate with function, there can be a disconnect, reducing the integrity. There's consistency, so you're following the same standards that iOS uses. So maybe your app looks really, has a lot of the features similar to the settings app or the messages app, something that's really familiar to users that won't, what was that there? Perfect. That won't cause any disconnect, and you don't have to explain it because they already technically know how it works. Direct manipulation, which is about engaging people and helping them understand what your app's about. So that can be done through, instructions or onboarding or, a help page. You're helping them understand how this works. Feedback. So, if I, airdrop a file, I get that little vibration, which is the feedback that it happened. Or if I screenshot, I hear that noise. So this is, acknowledging actions and results to make sure that we know something's happening. Like when I hit mute, there's that sound, so I know I'm muted. Metaphors, so this is kind of going back to this idea of depth, right? Relating to understanding, right? Helping people learn more quickly when objects and actions are metaphors for familiar experiences in the real or digital world. So kind of making a relation between the two things so there's less disconnect. And then user control, we kind of talked about this, giving people, not apps, control. So, I can control what I want to do. The app isn't going to force me to do what I don't want to. These are all what the best apps have. And this is just an image from Apple that kind of shows, a wireframe. We won't be doing wireframes today because I want to keep it short. But wireframes are used to kind of show content hierarchy in design without having any content there. So here you can kind of see these cards. You can show what the gapping is. There's a nav bar, tab bar, nav bar. And you can kind of see how all of it kind of correlates together regardless of the size. And then there's interface essentials, right? So iOS uses bars, views, and controls. So with bars, you can tell people where they are in their app, provide navigation, and have buttons and such to allow for actions and information. We'll be using that a lot today. Views all of us contain primary content people see in our apps, just text, graphics, animations, whatever. And they enable behaviors for scrolling, insertion, deletion, and arrangement. Almost every app has views in it, essentially, unless it's like really a game. But even then, you might really consider it has views. And then controls, initiate actions and convey information, buttons, switches, text, fields, and progress indicators are examples. Even that little loading icon is a control, the toggle. You can kind of look here. These are all different types of control, action, deleting. This is a view itself. Bars, we got this kind of image encapsulates all of these, main essentials. And so that was a little bit about Apple HIG. Like I said, you can kind of Google it. I'll add the link to the camp afterwards. And you'll kind of be able to, read. It's a lot of reading. So if you're designing an app, then it's necessary. But search bars and all that other stuff. Lots of fun stuff. There's, called a scope bar, I guess, when it's in the context of search. And there's also sidebars now, and status bars, and so many bars, tab bars, toolbars. The bars don't end with iOS. And so now we're looking at Android Material UI guidelines. And so what are the Material UI guidelines? And this is very different than the HIG because Android has its own very unique design that's still modern and classy, I guess, now. I don't agree that it used to be. But Material is a design system created by Google to help teams build high-quality digital experiences for Android, iOS, Flutter, and the web. What's really cool is you'll never really see the HIG in practice other than Apple apps for Android devices, but there's actually a lot of apps that use Material UI for on iOS. Even like Microsoft has their own version of Material UI, which I think is called Material UI Fluid or something like that they use for their apps on both platforms, and Google does the same thing too. Today we'll be looking at and also Flutter in the web, which you can kind of see as you go on. But we'll be looking at Material Design 3, which introduces massive updates to the design of Android. And I'm really excited because I really liked how they showed it off. And we can kind of go over a few different things. But what's new with Material Design 3 is dynamic color, which we'll talk about, designing for foldable devices, styles that can be applied to varying apps, large screen support, text, fonts, widgets. These are all things that, a few of them, like dynamic color, are very unique to Android now, but a few of these things have been with HIG for a while, so it's really cool to kind of see it go over to Material Design 3. So let's talk about the foundations. And now with Material Design 3, we've got a few new ones, especially this top two. So dynamic color. So to make personal devices feel personal, using user-chosen colors to open up new possibilities and create one-of-a-kind experiences. I'll show a photo of that. Adaptive design, layouts that react to inputs, and allowing material guidance to describe how to design for variable screen sizes, phones, tablets, desktops, whatever. And then interaction states, visual indicators used to communicate the status of a component or an interactive element. And just like the HIG, we can actually go to m3.material.io. They have an old Material Design 2 page. That's this one. It uses a lot. You can see how much massive it's changed with to Material U and all that. But yeah, I really like the new guidelines. They're much easier to go about. There's not a lot of them because it's still in development. You can kind of see a lot of different things. These are all of these states, right? You can have a few different states and types of buttons. Yeah, you can kind of see there's a lot more things that look familiar to iOS now, because they're taking a little bit of inspiration, but it's still very its own thing. And what's cool about it is it's not only on Google devices, it's on a lot of Android, so exciting. And here's a quick photo of Material UI 3 being used on a massive device. This is huge, maybe a really big tablet or even a laptop. Tablet hybrid thing. You'll see a lot of custom colors. It's a very unique color scheme. You got a sidebar. You got a really big compose button, a reply button, trash icons for this feed. There's 2 feeds, so it's kind of like a 3 view. You have 1 view, 2 view, 3 view. You have a search, an icon for the user, their feed, reply all. Very, a lot going on, but it's really cool for this massive display. And you can also see some of these interaction states, right? So you give a tag that's this drag to some drop downs, a button, another button, and this has a little mouse icon, which I assume is because it's on web, or I guess you have a mouse connected, but I doubt that. And then we have material design style. So you have colors. Color is used to express style and communicate meaning. With dynamic color, material puts personal color preferences and individual needs at the forefront of systematic color application. That's a lot. And then typography materials default type scale now includes a range of contrasting and extensible types to support a wide range of use cases. So making text more accessible, whether you have 10 times Excel or 2 Excel because you want to have it really small. Either works. And this is a really cool photo I liked of how dynamic color works with Material UI 3. So all these things have the same design, but they all have different colors based on what the user's preference is, which really goes to show how personal this is, which means that your Android phone will might look completely different than someone else's with these cool integrations all built in. And so now that I kind of talked about a lot of that, we'll jump straight into Figma again and designing a mobile prototype. That'll be really fun. And so we'll be designing a quick app. It's called Scribble. It's a notes app based upon the Apple Human Interface Guidelines for iOS. We couldn't do both today, but Android, I'll kind of show you how to go about that. And by the end, you'll know how to use your prototype app with animations and transitions, as well as how it might look when developed. I said the word transitions wrong. Transitions. That's what I said. So there's where we're at. So let's kind of go back into Figma. Actually, I'll show you this is really cool. I like that. Well, I'll kind of show you what our project is. So it's 3 views, a little scribbling app. So you'll make new scribbles. You can kind of set some information for them. You can choose, what it wants to look like, and then you'll have a little interface to scribble with a few different tools. You have a marker, maybe a pencil, eraser, a color thing, and more items, I guess. It was kind of inspired by that screenshot thing that they had. And I would have spent more time on it, but I didn't want to go out of our way and kind of get this done. We'll make some components. So this little note item that goes right here, and you can kind of see it's really dynamic actually. So if I change the height, it'll do that. We'll kind of talk about that. Don't do that, but we'll talk about that and what it's like to modify the heights of these items. We have this button right here. You can also kind of see it does its own thing, but we'll leave it at that. And we have this color picker right here, which we'll use right here for the color picking to kind of show that off. And we can actually hit play and see what this would look like. So, okay, wait, there we go. So this is our little interface. You create a new scribble, and you can see that there's a little animation. This toggle has an animation to it. I didn't do that, but it kind of happened. And we'll create a scribble. And you have this. There it is. And you can do this, and we'll hit the color thing, and you can kind of see that it pops up with the thing. You'll just go back. All that. We'll draw our own scribbles today using maybe the pen tool or something like that, and make this look not like a blank canvas. But we'll be doing all this right now. Okay, so close this, that. Let me go to my dashboard, I guess, so you'll see this. First, let's go to community on the side. It should be open for you. If not, I'll ask for your username or whatever. And let's search for iOS 15. And you'll see this awesome UI kit by Joey Banks. He works at Twitter. He used to work at Figma. And he designed this awesome tool where, or not awesome tool, but he designed his own file in Figma with all the different assets. So you can hit duplicate, and we'll use a lot of these assets. I already duplicated it. And then you can actually search, so lets me, material design. Let me actually click on this. Here, Material 3 Design Kit. And you can also hit duplicate on this. And yeah, and I'll kind of show what those look like right now. So I'll go back to my page. And all that. So I kind of have them both duplicated. I'll open them. Actually, let me go back. Open them in new tabs. So you can kind of open this up, and like I said, you can zoom in using this or hold Shift, hold Command and scroll. I think it might be Control. But yeah, he has a bunch of awesomely cool. He has all the wallpapers for the new device. He has a few things about him. You can kind of look through this. You see a lot of typography stuff, all the iOS colors, keyboards. Like, and this is all interactive. Like, you can clicking into it, and you can kind of edit this. I can make things like change letters and all that. But yeah, it's all completely done. We'll be using a little bit of this today because it's one-to-one with that. But yeah, even the color picker I kind of pulled from there. With this date picker. Yeah, so he's the new Safari in here. Like these new what's it called app clips. Clip previews, some notification icon things, and as well as like what the home screen or lock screen might look like, and all the different types of interactions. You have Face ID and acceptance. I don't think he has any Touch ID stuff. He does have some Touch ID stuff right there. Apple Pay icons, widgets. He has a lot of different cool things here that all help designing for mobile and all that fun stuff. Oh, it's tired. Okay. And then with Material Design 3, you can see have pages right here, getting started, and go to components, and you'll see a lot of the same thing. I don't assume there's a lot. Everything's done, but it's from Google, so it might be the case. And they really have everything, here. You have cards and buttons. You got these cool things that they did. Dark mode. And it's all, Material UI3, so you can see what the new things look like. I can even change this text if I wanted to. I'm not going to. So that'll be weird. But yeah, if you want to design for Android, this is your awesome bet. And maybe, possibly, you could even follow with us today designing for Android, but I'm not going to be doing that. I'll be designing for iOS, so I'll close this out. And so I'll create a new design file. I'll just call it Scribble. Cool. 350, not bad. Hopefully we can get this done within not too long. Alright, so you can click the frame button, and you'll see this is a mark on the driver, and actually choose an option to choose the iPhone 11 Pro /10. And we'll also duplicate it. You can do Command D or Control D or paste order. We'll do that 3 times. So we have 3 frames, and I'll name the first one Home. You can name things by double clicking on them, or you can just double click here, and then I'll name the next one new Scribble, and this will be a modal or a pop up, I guess. But we'll start new Scribble. And then the last one is the actual Scribble itself. All right, we'll make this page. Yes. Oh, that's fine. We actually don't really need pages, I guess, today. Cool. So let's kind of start it off, right? Let's add our status bar in our little home indicator. So you can go back here. We can actually find what we're looking for. So I need this. So I'll click on, keep going in, and I'll copy it. Command C, and I'll paste it, and then you can just either drag it to the bottom or use these cool things. So this will vertically center or horizontally center, and this will put it at the bottom. So now it's there at the bottom, and you can kind of, and then I'll hit lock so it doesn't move. Now I'll kind of paste that to all 3 of these. So now I have 3 of those, and it's locked, which means I can't really edit it. Then what I'll do is I'll add a status bar, not for the 13 and 13 Pro, but for the iPhone 10. And then I'll paste that at the top. Only for the last 2, however. So here and here. I'll lock that one too. And I was and you can actually group them. So we'll select, you can hold Command or Shift and select both, right click and hit group selection. So now they're in a single group, and I'll just call it default. Do the same thing here. Group. This helps with organization. Then what I'm going to do is let's create our what's the term? The text. Let's create our Navbar text. So we can hit the text tool. I'm going to write scribble. It's right there. It's really small. I'm going to make the font 34. That's what iOS uses. Line height 41, and I'll make it 0.37, I think, per letter. I'm thinking that should be good. And then I'll set my font to Pro Display. If you're on Windows, you won't have this. Just use whatever font you really want, I guess. So I have this, and I'll kind of just put it to the side for now. I also want a search bar though, so let's go find a search bar. Just grab one right here, so you can just copy this, and then we'll paste it underneath. I'll paste that, and then I also want an icon. For icons, I use this really awesome app called SF Symbol. Once again, only on Mac, because it's made by Apple, but you can find tons of awesome icons online. Images, and they have a lot of options. So I already have a few icons of my own, and in the final project, you can actually duplicate it. And what's the term? You can duplicate it and actually get those icons as well. So, but I'm just gonna grab my icon. I'll paste it in. There's my icon right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually select. What is this? Oh, I won't call it icon. Scroll, I have to move it out. So I have these 3 things, and I'm actually gonna right click and hit auto layout. And this will all put them like this. And auto layout is a really awesome tool. I think it recently came out, and you can actually just edit. You can put things in rows, and you can kind of change how they work. You can add padding. You can also set them vertical or horizontal. But what we'll do right now, what we're going to do here is we'll set another auto layout between these 2 items, and we'll add a gapping of 10 with no padding around it, and that's fine. We'll leave that alignment. Then on this outer one, we'll actually change the width. We'll set it like here, right there. We'll add a gap of 4. And I want the icon to be on the other side. So you can actually click right here and align it to the other side like that. Where is it? Oh, let me do this. Yes. And then we'll also be adding a overall padding of 16 right here. So now we kind of have this all set up right here. And actually no, let's do 12 on the top and 12 on the bottom there. So we have this already. And we can kind of align it so you can see how that red line hits the bottom right there. So we have a little bit more space. So just like that, we've already gone ahead and have a search bar, a little title here. So I'll rename this. So search plus title, new scribble, and I'll write Navbar. Okay. So now we have this. I'm actually going to lock this as well, so I don't really have to mess with it. But actually, no, let's leave it unlocked. So now let's actually add our little cards. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a frame. So you can just frame and hit click. Let's rename it to note, or I guess scribble item. Then you can right click and hit create component. And now I can actually copy this. So I'll do Command C, but you can right click and copy. And I'm actually going to go into here and I'll paste it. Let me change the color of the background to black so you can actually see it. I'll add this again. I'll make 4 of them. I'll add an auto layout right here. And an auto layout right... Actually, I don't even need that. These two, I can hit delete. I'll have an auto layout right here. I'll set it to 20. And then I'll do copy paste that. And you can actually add another auto layout right here. And I'll set this to 20 as well. And then I'll set a padding to 16. And I'll just kind of align it right there, this edge. And then I'll stretch this out right here, okay? But what we want is we actually want it to fill. So what I'll do is now, since these are all components, what they do is they copy their parents. So these are all children. So if I change this, it'll fit right there. I've already done the math to get that number that we need for the width, and it is 162. So I can actually go here and type 162, and it fits perfectly. And the height really doesn't matter, so I'll leave it at 100. Actually, I'll set it to like 128. 128 is a good number. Okay. So let's kind of style this now. So I'm going to give it a corner radius of 12. Well, make sure clip content is on. And I'll set this corner smoothing to 60%. Then I'll add a stroke and a backdrop shadow. I'll set the background back to white. You can kind of see the effects of this. The stroke, let's set to outside. And let's actually grab some colors now. So we actually go here, the colors in that file. And I'll grab this color right here. You can go E5, and I'll set that as our stroke right there. And then let's modify our drop shadow because this looks really, really bad. So I'm going to change the blur to 20. I'm going to change the Y to 0. I'm going to change the opacity of it to 5, and that looks pretty good. There's a little bit of depth, you can kind of tell. Now inside here, I'm going to add some text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a text. I'm just going to say scribble 1. Okay, and I'll add another piece of text that says edited 3 minutes ago. Okay, I'll auto layout this. Then I'm going to set it right here. I'm going to fit the width. Set that to hug contents. And then what we'll do is we'll actually set this constraint to the bottom. So as I change this height, it always remains there. And now I'll start editing this text. So first, I want to make this smaller. So I will set this to 13. Not there, to 13. 13. I'll actually make this auto. You can actually write auto. Use FF for text, like obvious. I'm actually going to set the uppercase right there. So, not 13, let's go to 9. Okay. I'm also going to set this to like 2. With a padding, an internal padding of like 8. And also set this alignment to the bottom corner, so even if it stretches, it's always there. Okay, and then I'll set my color. Let's set a color. Like a gray. Yeah, let's use this gray. Okay, just kind of paste that there. Okay. And then for the other text, right here, let's set this to 14. Auto. We'll set this to medium. Actually, let's go to 4. Yeah, looks better. Okay, cool. So now we have all this, and let's kind of add a little bit of things so people can differentiate. So we can add a stroke and a fill. But you can see that stroke looks really weird. So I'll do an outside stroke, so it only appears on the top. We can set the stroke, I guess, to maybe the same color that we set to the outside. So this other color right here. There's some synergy with it. So there's a divider, and then I'll set a background color. So I guess this color right here. It's really light gray. Cool. What's really cool about components actually is now we can actually edit this text right here, and it won't change. So we can actually write, so maybe this is from, yesterday. Maybe this is from, New Year's. No, it's 22 now. And then let's just set this long, and we can just rename it. And so we kind of run into an issue right there. Do this, do that, and we'll actually set this to there, and I'll subtract 8, so it's 146. Align that. There. And now that looks pretty good. I set this to a auto height of 146 a long time ago in the galaxy far, far away. And you can kind of see how that text kind of modifies itself. We can still set that to 13. Yes. No, my cap lock is on. Happy New Year. Yes. Just some names. But like I said, you can always just change that and make it a different height if necessary. But I like the 128 height a lot, so just keep it like that. Okay, so first component, done. And essentially this entire page, the first view is done itself. So that looks really good. Okay, I don't like how close that is right here, so I'm gonna actually add an increased. Actually, what we can do is actually do this. We can actually add a auto layout to these two things of 0, and just add our own, upper padding, so 32. Actually, that's a lot. So. There, that's pretty good. Actually, let me go in and actually just ungroup that. First row or second row, our scribble items are inside of it. Component is really cool because now we can, if we ever want to change it, make it dark mode, right? We can just set it to different things. I'll leave it like there for now. Now, actually, what I'll do is I'll create another frame, 162 by 128, and actually I'll just make a few cool things inside. So I'll add maybe a red circle. Maybe I use the pen tool to make a little scribble. So. Maybe a tree. Terrible at this. Is that another shape, perhaps? Yeah, a little. Rectangle, maybe. Maybe I'll add this shape. And then let's just kind of end it out with a star, like an orange star. This will be our sketch, I guess. You can go do whatever you want. I'm just gonna do this. And so I have that, and I'll actually export this, and I'll call this thing a sketch. Now I'll export this at actually let's do 3 times, export. And then I'll actually go back here, and I'm gonna drag this into here. And now we got this, cool little sketch. And I'll actually go into this one right here and change the image, so I'll rotate it. So you kind of have that, those images there. Like I said, you can even go in like as deep as you want and kind of like change how it looks. So I can make it like yellow, maybe. Like blue. You kind of change it. Forgive my poor design work right there. But yeah, I mean, some things right here. Like a black and white one. Sounds like, yeah, it's a little bit of our design. And actually, while I'm at it, I'll kind of drag this into here as well. So I'll leave that there for now. Okay, cool. So let's move on to our next thing. So what happens when we have a new scribble? And I want a little thing to pop up. So what I'll do is I'll go back here. I'm actually going to copy this right here. I'm not going to only use a little bit, right? Align it to the top. Delete. And then I'll actually set this. I'll delete this thing right here. You can actually hit detach. And group. Oh, I did something. Oh well. Tab. Oh, cool. Okay. Okay, now we have this little thing now. I did a little bit of deleting, then I have that. I'm actually going to copy this, paste it right here, realign it, and just write new scribble. Delete. I just need to really delete the search. What? There. And I'll add another icon of my own. I'll add this little X icon. Okay. Now let's create a button at the bottom. So let's write some text. So let's write create scribble. That's 3 B's, 1 B, 2 B. Right there. I'll set it to 17. I'll like do, this is like an Apple thing for text, I'll do that, or minus 0.7. I'll go to medium. I'm going to drop in one of my icons once again. It's right here. And I'll add an auto layout right here. And in this auto layout, it'll be 2. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it to center. I'm going to set it to 14 at the top. 108, 14, 108. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this I'm going to fill it. 108. Right. I'm going to fill it with a purple. Set the text to white. And now I have this little button right here. I'll move it out and I'll create a component out of it. Call it colored button. Put it back here. And I'll just modify this one, I guess. I'll add a corner radius of 16. And then I'll also add this corner smoothing right here. Perfect. And this will be like what happens when you create it at the bottom. So I'll add this right here. I'm going to wrap this inside its own, inside another auto layout, I guess. Oh, I don't really have another auto layout. Or actually, I can get another auto layout. Let's just do that. There we go, auto layout. And then for this one, I'll be setting a fill of F2, F2, F7. I'll be setting an outside stroke of EA, EA, E5. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this. Let's see, stretch it. I'm going to let it center. I actually need to place the home indicator on top of it. And then what I'm going to do is add what's the term? Adding around it. So we'll do 22, 22, 30, 22. And that height is weird, so I'll also set the height. Actually, we can actually set this thing is top to hug the contents. And then now we have this. So we have this little bar at the bottom, so just create scribble, little outline. And then the rest of this is going to be just going to kind of copy paste, I guess. So let's add a text. I'll call scribble info. And that's pretty good. And then I'll add another one that just says references. Alright, let's start bringing some stuff over from this file. So we want the user, I guess, to be able to maybe type some stuff in. So I'll grab this text field, molecule, or I guess molecule is like the phrase, I guess, right here. And I'll kind of add one more of those. So 1, 2, 3. I'll add an auto layout of them. We'll add 0 gapping. I'll add an auto layout on this first one. I'll add 16. I'll add 0, 0, 0, 16. I just want 16 on the left, really. I'll have 16 here as well. And I'll do that. So you have this. Then I'll add an auto layout of 16. I don't even need that. I can just do 8. Put that at the top. And I'll duplicate this again. Add an auto layout so I can get 32. And I'll add a top bound of 16. Should load the gapping. And I'll call this scribble. Preferences. So maybe this first one will be the name, so it automatically just defaults to a few different things that can be changed. So maybe scribble number 1. The date is January 15th, 2021. And then let's just set it to Greg Heffley as our person. Then you can just kind of delete. And then, so that's like some text info. Now let me go with this. I really like this toggle, so we can grab a toggle element. And then in this bottom one, I'll paste the toggle in. But I'll delete these 2, 3 things. And maybe the person doesn't want to have color. Maybe they only want to write black and white, or really similar colored question mark. And they'll toggle this. What's really cool is this already has animation tied to it. And then I'll add this right here. And we're going to design a view for this, but we can kind of just infer it. You can make your own if you really like to. But maybe a way to change the background. Maybe there's a dotted background or a grid or something like that, but let's write default, and this little arrow indicates that there's more. So that second view done. Let's kind of go on to the last view, finish it out, and then prototype it all. So first let's grab a navbar again, but I'll be grabbing one of these short navbars right here, this short one. Paste that at the top. I'm going to change the background color to 100, and let's change this text to back, and I'll write details. I don't want to use an icon. So here. Then we can actually change this blue, hit detach, click the button, change it to this purple that we really like, and just, I guess, give it a name. So I'll give it just scribble. Cool. And that's already, I guess, half of it done. Next, what we're going to do is we'll create a little rainbow color ring. So I'll do that out on the side. So I'll make a circle right there. I'll make 2 circles, I guess. The inner one is 18 by 18. You can actually hit this link icon so they both scale. And the outer I think is 28 by 28. There. We can group them, and then what you'll do is you'll keep clicking this button until it's centered, and then do this. Click on the outs, and we'll set, I guess we'll just set it to black, so you can make 0, black. What's behind it? There. And on this big one, we'll actually turn off that and add a stroke of 4. Let's go 3. And so yeah, now let's change this outside color to be rainbow. So you can actually do gradients, which I didn't really talk about in the beginning, but when you hit this color thing, you can change it to fill. You can do linear gradients, radial gradients, a diamond, or even an image, which is kind of how the other thing works. But we'll do an angular one, and I'll set the first color to red, and I'll set the last color to purple, and I'll kind of do let's do an orange, yellow, green, blue. Green, yellow, orange, purple. And that looks pretty good. So I got that. Trying to get in. I got this plus icon, so I got this plus icon and a few other icons actually while I'm at it. Got this one icon. Got this icon as well. And this icon. These icons are all from SF symbols. So what I'm first going to do is frame these two things together at an auto layout. Horizontal auto layout of 8. It's not, if you see it says frame 10, that means it's not actually in the frame that we're working in. So you can just kind of drop it in. Same with these. So what's called sketch. You just drag them in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and add an auto layout to it. I'm going to give it a fixed height and width of 40. 40, it's a little box, and we'll kind of align it in the middle. Give it a padding of 8. And then I'll fill it with with a blue, for example. Let's do this blue. And I'll add a corner radius of 8 and add some smoothing to it. A small level, I don't really know if it really matters. And then I'll set the text to white. And I'll kind of copy this a few times, but now I can actually just paste my other icons inside. And for these other icons, I'm not going to have I'm just going to make the background transparent. And then we'll do an auto layout. It'll also be horizontal. It'll be 8. Cool. And then we'll add an auto layout between the two. Add, be centered. And we'll do space between, which basically means that there'll be always space between these. And what I'm doing is I'm going to copy this, paste it to here, and then put this inside of it. And then, yeah. And we filled the container right there, fill container, so it fills the full container. Otherwise you can make it fixed like this. And yeah, we have finished our design. We got a few different components here and all that, and now we can kind of move on to the next part. So we'll go back to the iOS 15 UI kit, and you can find this color picker right here. I'll get this color picker right there, paste. We'll paste it over here, and then right click, hit detach, and then see this little nub right here? We'll kind of realign it so it matches. So I'll actually set this to 280 there, and then you're good to go. You can just right click and make a component more rather, just for the sake of it. So now we got our 3 views. I'll kind of move them off to the side right here. And now let's connect them all, right? So on the side we'll have this prototype button. And so let's kind of start off. So when I hit this little icon, you can kind of click into it. When I tap on it, tap, I want it to open an overlay. So this overlay was the new scribble. I will want it to be centered. And I want it to be, I guess, move in from the bottom. Okay. When I click on the close button, when I tap on it, I want it to close an overlay. Perfect. When I click on a scribble, since it's a component, I want it to go to the scribble. So we'll have it navigate to scribble. We'll actually have it push inwards like this, or just slide in like that. It'll click on Smart Animate, and then when I hit this back button, I want it to go back, and it'll go back to wherever it came from. When I hit Create Scribble, I'll do here. I want it to navigate here by sliding in, and then when I click on this little color thing, I want it to open the overlay. I'm going to hit Manual, so you can kind of align it correctly. And I want it to close when clicking outside, add a background, I want it to dissolve. And so yeah, we have all these things connected up now. All of these. And so now I'm gonna hit play. Okay, cool. And so now we have this. So I can actually click on Scribble 1 and you can see it kind of comes in. I can do that with all of these. I can actually click this color thing and it'll fade in. If I click out, go away. And actually, let's do something else. If we go into this, open our default. Let's just remove this little notch. Go ahead and hit delete. Same here, I guess. Delete. And also, let's change the device to an iPhone 11 Pro because that'll format. I'll just make it silver. I'll hit close. Okay, I'll hit play. Play again. Cool. Now we're here. Back. I didn't even forget what I changed. Oh well. You can hit this button that says to make. You can close it, open, close. And if you misclick, it'll show you where to click. This toggle just kind of works. And we hit create, and you can kind of see how that works. We can click close. And yeah, I mean that's it. We made a prototype. I'm gonna close this. So yeah, just kind of section 7 finishing up. Yeah, I mean this is it. So you can actually go to design. You can modify whatever you want. You can make more frames. Prototyping looks like a mess right here. Sorry, but you can really go do a lot what you want. You can inspect things if you want to code it later. Maybe we'll have a camp where we convert this design that we made here today into an actual app with Swift UI. Maybe that's something that we could do. That seems really easy to do, and it shouldn't take that long. Really, the hardest part is just the drawing aspect and being able to save it like this. Yeah, that's something we can't teach, but maybe we can convert the design. Yeah, and that's where we're at. So if you missed something, we're ending early today. Pretty good job. You can always rewatch this camp and more at STEMpump.org, along with learn courses, whatever. We have an awesome Figma online camp if you want to really dive into Figma, and also another interface that we did last time, which I think was a cooking app, something like that. But we talked a lot more about design. So if you're really interested in the design stuff we talked about today, we have an awesome Figma camp as well from the past that I taught, and it's really in-depth. It's really long too. It doesn't really go as much into the Figma part as much as it goes into design, whereas this camp really went into a lot more Figma stuff. You can always donate and to support STEMpump at stempump.org/donate. Anything helps, or even just asking a friend or family about it. We even have an Amazon Smile thing that you can do. So a bit of your Amazon purchase will go towards us. You don't have to pay anything extra. Just go to smile.amazon.com and set that up. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. We're hoping to post a lot more content every month, including these camps, which will be 2 to 3 per month. I think our next one's like an AI camp, so I'm kind of excited for that. It's in, I think, 2 weeks, same time. hopefully shorter. The goal is to get this thing as short as possible while still teaching as much as possible. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. Camp is over. Let us know how we did at stempump.org/r/CFB. And yeah, have a great night, day, or wherever you are. Thanks.